As an entrepreneur, what is one of the most top 3 misconceptions?
That we rich.
I wasn't going to go there on number 1, but let's dive in.
I can go there on number 1 because people, let me tell you, especially in this town,
rich.
right?
We have responsibilities. We have the other R.
We can break it down right now. Watch out. Let me show you how, especially in this town, how people go, right? What people tend to do, they look at the top line, right? Yeah. So they can drive past, let's say let's call it a chicken shack place. They see a bunch of people buying. They say, mother sick, but they making plenty money. Hey, look all the people buying this thing, right? Making plenty money.
They might be making plenty money on what you see.
Hey, listen, they may be generating lots of revenue. They may have a lot of gross income. Okay. See, there's a difference. And a lot of people don't understand how business operates, right? So they just see the top line. You got a lot of customers, you get sales, you get clients, you're making money.
That's it.
They don't never factor in their expenses.
No.
Never. And when you really look at it, let's say for the industry that I in, right? I don't know why I choose this industry, but I in the industry with some of the smallest margins in business, right? Food industry, small margins, right? So let's break down and explain to people what it is.
Go ahead.
If you're in the food industry and you have a 10% net margin, you are considered doing good.
You're doing very well.
10%, right? 10%. So let's say my business generates $500,000 of top line gross sales, right? Yeah. Gross revenue, $500,000. Mm-hmm. That means 10% of that is $50,000, yes, right? That's a decent paying job in this country. Think about it. $50,000 is a decent job. But with a job, you don't have the risk that you have as business. Now, again, like I say, that's if you're lucky, you get 10%. If you're lucky, you may break even. You may lose money. You may have 5.
We're just coming out of a 3-year unlucky time.
Exactly. These 3 years have been brutal. These are the largest lessons I've ever learned in my entire life over the past 3 years. Yep. But let's break down the expenses. So, okay, you got your revenue. If you have a business with stores and stuff like me, right?
Right.
So you got rent to pay, but that ain't even your biggest stuff. You got staff.
Oh, yeah.
Usually your staff is your highest expense.
Yep.
Payroll can be about 40s, right around 40, anywhere from 35 to 50% of your gross.
Yeah.
Go on, cut in half. Paying staff.
Then you got that little thing called NIP.
Hold on, we can keep going. I ain't stopped. I just giving you the biggest.
Sorry.
Which is what you're going to typically find the biggest expense is going to be payroll. Mm-hmm. And then I in a business where we got to buy supplies to make what we make, right? So our cost, this is COGS. See, COGS, cost of goods sold. People, what that is we just make cookies. So we got to buy butter, flour, sugar, vanilla, eggs, all the stuff that we need to make it.
And your oil price is more volatile than crypto.
Listen to me. Eggs, months ago, I shared many tears when eggs was $8 a carton because we come from eggs being about $2 a carton. How much times that is, Jay?
4.
Thank you very much. We can't carry our price up 4 times.
You notice Jay on top of your match, right?
So watch this. So
can't win on these lights. No,
I can tell you the truth. But anyhow, so people ain't looking at all these things, right? So eggs shoot up for that time, right? And we've been dealing with inflation from, I want to say, the end of last year, most of this year, inflation has been insane. Everything that we purchase is at least 100% more than it cost last year.
No, man.
I'm telling you, at least 100% more than last year. Every single thing that we have to purchase, right? And so you can't keep carrying your price up.
No.
And you can't carry your price up to the extent of your cost of goods sold.
Right.
Because anytime you add a little something, people be like, man, y'all gone up. Yeah, people can complain, right? Yeah. So what happens is that net that you used to get, gone down. And so people don't see all of these things. They just look at the top line. They say, oh, you got customers, people coming in, you making plenty money. No, you're looking at the gross revenue. We have many, many expenses. I ain't even talk about the BPL. You know our BPL light bill.
I don't even want to know your BPL.
Let me tell you something. In January, I look at the breakdown of the bill for this year. January, we had a bill of about $400 and something, right? Okay. To Prince Charles. Cool. You know what it is now?
Let me see. Based on the data out there, that should have gone up at least 3 times. So $1,200.
How you know? Are you sure you might bill it?
No, I just I know the data out there. I've been analyzing. I look at my own. I just finished it, but I just
So here's how it went. So it went from 4 something. I tell people all the time, our BPL bill is very ambitious. Always outdoes itself than the month prior, right? We have an ambitious bill because every month it outdoes itself and gets higher. It goes from 4 something to 5 something to 6 something, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we up to about $1,100-$1,200 a month.
Jesus.
Right? So you got the BPL.
So when you put solar on top of the roof now?
It ain't my building. I ain't on the building.
Wow.
And that's a capital investment right there. So you need funding for that again. So now that's $30,000, $40,000, whatever it is. Yeah. And then that got to pay itself off over a 10-year period. Yeah. And so that means you got to at least be in that building for about 10 years with the
rent.
Uncertainty. You don't know if you could be there for 10 years. So why you could take something that can take 10 years to pay off if you ain't know if you can be there for 10 years. So all of these things you got to take into consideration. Running a business is constantly adjusting and putting out fires all the time. Super stressful. People think you just sit there, collect money, go spend it, and go on vacations. So that's the biggest that's why I lead with money as the biggest misconception about being a business owner, because people assume that you is Mr. Burns who just sitting there, or Scrooge McDuck, and you just collecting money, hogging it, and don't want to pay your employees, and you just want to be rich and leave everybody else poor and squeeze all the labor you could get out of them and pay them the least amount possible, when that's not the case. Most businesses that operate just barely break even. They like a person with a job. Most businesses operate like a person with a job. They will, like, instead of paycheck to paycheck, sales day to sales day, they operating by.
Yeah.
And that's most businesses. So when you see a business that's really has a lot of profit, those are the minority. That's the small percent. Most people right there just getting by. They just operating. They make a couple dollars here and there, and they just operating. So that, to me, that is the biggest misconception about being an entrepreneur or business owner.
Okay.
Hope I clarify.
Do you blame social media for that misconception?
Partially, yes. Because a lot of people on social media present it as though it's easy. Oh, all you got to do is this, and I can make this amount of money doing this. And that's not the reality. They rarely, and here's why I know why they do it. They're not going to present the full story because it's not sexy.
Yeah,
that's not what people don't want to hear that. Ain't nobody want to hear these things. Nobody want to hear about payroll, rent. Nobody want to hear about that stuff. They want to hear how I can make a bunch of money in a short amount of time with the least amount of work. Okay. That's what they want to hear. What can get me to this money the fastest with the least amount of work? And so that's what they push on social media.
But that's the biggest problem now. If you want to make good money, there's no fast.
No, there's no.
You have to put quality into what it is.
Yes.
And you have to build that brand. And people think branding and marketing is one thing. It's no. The brand is the identity and the culture of the idea of the business. Mm-hmm. The marketing is that vehicle that you use to get that branding to the masses,
exactly, to
your customers.
That's a great way to put it.
So for me is, as a person, yeah, you may look at that 10% margin as, oh, that's very thin. That's a good 10% margin if you're lucky. Your job is to grow your gross, minimize those expenses to the point where that 10% yields $100,000, $150,000, et cetera, et cetera.
And just that's
the game.
And let's do some maths now.
I think that's the most sexy part of the game.
And do maths now. So if you got a 10%, what that means you got to make, if you want net, $100,000.
$1 million.
Thank you very much. So you got to gross. You have to have $1 million in sales just to make $100,000. If you're lucky enough to have a 10% net margin at the end of all your expenses.
And how do you do that? Diversify your offering.
Yeah.
You have to understand your product. You have to understand your market. You have to be able to diversify without creating another line of what you call
COGS, yeah.
COGS.
Cost of goods sold.
So whether that be you do your retail aspect, and then you say, okay, how can I go in commercial? How do I get in other storefronts where I don't have the responsibility of
that overhead, right?
Exactly.
And that's what we've been doing. Like you see, that's one of the pivots we had to make, is because it's so expensive to run a full store. It's best if we just take our products and place it into other people's store who are already paying for all of that overhead, and we still get to get the sales without all the extra overhead. So that's one of the pivots that we've been making.